Oh, sorry. Oh, this is Cooper, Telepathic Bunny Comics. This is the Hangout. It's under construction, which means changes are being made. They just weren't being made enough time for the show today, which is why I'm late. Anyway, so I'm just gonna hang out for a little while, see if anybody pops up. I put this out late. Sometimes that works in my favor. Sometimes it doesn't. No big deal. So if you're in the chat over there, say howdy and keep me company. Well, the other day I managed to step my foot in it. I decided that I was just going to say it. That's what I started out with. Let me go ahead and share this so you can see what I'm talking about. So here we go. So I'm just going to say it. You had a well-trained super soldier. You had a redemption arc. You had a compelling Oscar-nominated actor. You had a freaking cybernetic arm. You had a man with something to prove, and you had a man with nothing to lose. You had a story. MCU, you chose unwisely. And look at this picture here. Look at that. I've always loved the Bucky cap uniform. It's always been one of my favorites. But so anyway, it was interesting because the comments I got back, I never got anybody calling me racist, which was amazing because Sam is the Captain America of choice right now, who used to be Falcon. So anybody that criticizes that immediately gets called racist anyway. But I tried something different. I tried to come at it from a different angle, as it were. The angle I came from was the angle of story. Hold on one second. Oh, there's my man. There's a hangout. It's hangout now. Can you hear me? He always has technical difficulty. You can hear me, but I can't hear you. So you hadn't said anything yet. Anyway, but I hear me reverberating there. So anyway, he'll get it straightened out in a minute. But yeah, so I decided I was going to come at a different angle. Okay, everybody's going after the miscast angle, but the truth of the matter is the real issue is not that Sam is miscast. The real issue is that the better, more compelling story was if Bucky got the shield. It was being set up. See, they whether it was intentional or not, they used the Ed Brubaker run. In the Ed Brubaker run, Bucky became the captain. Okay. Now, the thing about it is, though, is so the whole entire time they used the Ed Brubaker material, they were setting up Bucky to be the Captain America. and whether they realize that or not. Maybe having a problem with my dog over there. He's having issues right now. Oh, he's gonna come back. He's gonna reboot. Anyway, so whether they intended or not, the Ed Brubaker material set up Bucky to be Captain America, and so you had the first image that you had of the Winter Soldier. He caught a shield. Okay, and all along there's like these Easter eggs to where he would like wound up using the shield, like when they fought with Iron Man. He and Steve fought Iron Man. There was a lot of shield flying going on right there. 1 second, let me go ahead and put my dog out before she's in distress. Trust me, I need to do this. Be right back. So how you like that professionalism? Well, my dog has diabetes right now, and she drinks a lot of water because of it. So if she's moaning at the door, it's either that or throw down towels. So we were trying to she lost her eyesight this coming last week, so she's kind of in transition right now. Hold on. Hey, man. Nope. Still not going. No problem. No problem. Hold on 1 second.
There it is.
There it is. The chair is a fine. Well, I appreciate it, Nick. But see, the chair, the co-host of the chair doesn't pull his hair out, on cue, like you do. So, Dave Brink, hello, T Bunny and Shadow Punk. Hey, Dave.
What's up, Dave?
In the tail end, so I guess a later time is good for you.
Where's he at?
Oh, Dave Brink said, hello, T Bunny, Shadow Punk. And I was like, he comes in on the tail end. He usually winds up being like the last 10 minutes. But
is that right? Okay.
Later.
I got you.
Yeah. So I was talking about the interesting thing about it was when I made the argument just about the story and not about anything else, except the story. It turned into a different argument. I didn't get a lot of racist comments.
Which story are we talking about?
I'm talking about Captain America when they passed the shield to Sam Falcon instead of the Winter Soldier, Bucky.
Well, he did have it for a while, right?
In the comics, yeah.
I mean,
he had a great run. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, so what's your opinion about the whole thing? Because I have an opinion.
Okay. Well, this is my opinion. This is let me show the tweet. Let's see at stream. All right, this is my opinion. So hold on. Let me back out of that. Hold on 1 second. I got to X out of that. There we go. Okay, you see it?
Yep.
All right. So that's my opinion. I'm going to say it. You had a well-trained super soldier. You had a redemption arc. You had a compelling Oscar-nominated actor. You had a freaking cybernetic arm. You had a man with something to prove, a man with nothing to lose. You had a story. MCU you chose unwisely.
Right.
So,
okay.
Let me show you the engagement I got just right quick. Look at this. 64 retweets, 9 quote tweets, 409 likes.
Wow. That's crazy.
So, yeah. I struck a nerve, man.
Big time. I think there are different things going on here. Number one, I don't have a problem with Bucky or the Falcon getting the shield. Like
Mm-hmm.
in theory, I think they're both good choices. Your summation there is a good one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the Falcon's been with the Captain America for so long. He doesn't really fit combat soldier leader,
No,
but Bucky doesn't have the charisma the Cap has either.
I'll be right back.
Okay. So while he's gone, I'm just going to bring up the point that, and a side point, is that when you watch the Avengers movie and they show you Cap handing the shield to the Falcon, this is crazy, but dead center screen, they have the American star should be pointing upwards, right? Like that. And if you watch it, it's pointing down like a satanic star, and it's right dead center screen. There's no way that they did that by accident, and I'm just pointing it to people because there's a lot of crazy stuff in these movies, and it's not even a theory. I wouldn't even
Are
say
you
it's
turning my show to a conspiracy show
I'm
again?
not even saying it's a conspiracy theory. I'm saying it's actually real. Okay? I can give you another one about the Avengers movies, but let's do your subject.
Go ahead.
So Bucky doesn't have the charisma that Steve Rogers does, right?
Nah.
So you got to hand one thing about the Falcon, and especially the guy who plays the Falcon in the thing. The actor has more charisma. Okay.
This is a good point. Upside down flag is a sign of duress.
Well, it wasn't a flag; it's a star.
Question mark.
So I mean, he's a good point, but so see the thing.
Well, let me tell you how they handled it in the comics. Okay. Yeah, granted, he didn't have like the out and out leadership and the charisma that Steve Rogers did in the comics. So what they did was they made him a different kind of Captain America. He became more of a covert operative. He became more of a targeted operative than
So that's
Steve
when he
did.
had like the shiny looking kind of okay.
It was a vibranium armor, yeah, or the adamantium
Okay.
armor, yeah.
Cool.
But he became like he was like not necessarily a team leader. He became like a component when they needed him. But for the most part, he operated as an individual, which is what the Winter Soldier was anyway. So that was what he was trained to do. That's what he did all those years. He was a covert operative. So it could have given them a whole entire different way, different story to tell.
That's true. I mean,
remember the first part on the Lumarian Star where Captain America got dropped in and then he took over the ship?
No.
Well, the first part of Captain America Winter Soldier is one of the best. You know, he got dropped in and he got basically was put onto the ship to try to reacquire it, basically, from Hydra, and he basically he got dropped in. He like climbed up the rope and then he basically was a shock. Went like level by level. But that kind of story is what they would have, what Bucky would have been perfect for, because remember Bucky could disappear in plain sight.
Right.
Remember that people were looking at him and he's like, he's gone. He could disappear in plain sight.
So I'll say this, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that, and that would be really cool. But if you do that, do you have the noble symbol of America there anymore? Because it's a different thing, right?
Uh-huh.
So
that is a good point. That's the first valid point I've heard. Also, the term you're looking for is Lancer from the 5-man band style of character organization. Oh, okay. Hold on. Is Bucky still American? Seriously, between the Hydra stuff and living in Wakanda?
And then all the time in Russia too.
Well, the thing about it is Bucky's like loyalty in the comic. He had the exact same problem. I'm a man, kind of a man without a country. But he wound up where he landed was he was basically became a man of the symbol. The name Captain America, what it stood for. That became his country basically. Uh,
Okay.
and and basically he was working for he didn't really identify with the country. He identified with the people, and he identified with what America means to the world. And what he was protecting was what America's impact in the world, because he saw uh, and what Ed Brubaker basically was pointing out was that there's like one country on this planet that has a freedom for all its citizens, and it's under constant attack, and it's under constant attempts to subvert. And he understood this, and this was way back in the 2014 was when Bucky gave up this. They took the shield away from Bucky, but
All
he
right.
was from 2010 to 2014. He had this hella good run, and it's basically all about what they were doing to America. That was subverting America, and that he was defending that. And as soon as
Right.
but the thing about it is when they took the shield away from him and gave it to Sam, that was all new Marvel now, when they completely race and gender swapped their entire line.
Sure. Sure.
And so the thing that Brubaker was I think Brubaker was basically seeing what was happening inside of Marvel, and he was making a commentary on it.
Well, you're probably right. I mean, you never know. These writers, you writers, are a clever bunch, and so layering this stuff in there
Uh,
is part of their forte, and also spotting it
yeah,
when other people do it, right?
right,
Because you
right.
know the trade, right? So
Yeah,
I will say that I was really impressed. I think it was, I don't know, was it Steve Epstein?
mm-hmm.
I think was the penciler and inker on a lot of that stuff.
Uh-huh.
It had like a dry, like kind of like Odin, kind of like a dry brush, kind of realistic looking thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Really awesome. And I remember the other thing I remember noticing is that every once in a blue moon, there's a really kick ass idea that comes out,
yeah,
right? Like Doomsday, right? That's a kick ass
right.
idea, right? The Winter Soldier, my buddy told me about because I was out of it for a while,
Yeah.
and he explained the whole premise to me, and I was just like, "Whoa, that's a cool idea."
Well, there used to be this like line that was unofficial line that would be crossed in comics. There's like three people you never brought back: Uncle Ben, Jason Todd, and Bucky. And when they brought Bucky back, DC's like, okay, all bets are off, and they brought Jason Todd back as the Red Hood in a very similar way.
Right. But can I just, as a judgment on my part, I would say that the Winter Soldier was a better version.
Yeah, yeah,
More,
I'll
the
agree
idea
to
was
that.
more potent, right?
Well, the emotional complexity of him, he was constantly like, what is my place in this world?" Because, you know, they mind screwed him for like decades and decades. Uh
Right.
and all that conditioning, all that programming and all that stuff. And it was just broken by the Kobik, cosmic cube. So it was all still there. It was just like broken through by this artificial intelligence. And so he was still like, he still had the memories of everything he did. He still had the the all, it was like it detached it, but it was still there, So he still had access to his training and everything. But
Okay.
um it was a great study of what happens when you break conditioning and try to rediscover who you are. And it's just a very compelling story for me. It's a way more compelling story than somebody who has an already established character, one of the probably the oldest published black character in Marvel comics. I think he beats Black Panther by a few years. Uh, but I think Black Panther was like brought in from another comic. Um, but he
Well,
but Falcon beats him by a few years. I mean, but he's pretty much the oldest continuously published black character in Marvel Comics, and so here he has his own identity. He has his own like niche.
Right.
Uh, and he did in the MCU too. Nobody flew like him. I mean, you know, you had people with jets on their feet, but they didn't have anybody that was genuinely, honestly flying. And it was a thrilling character. And now you're asking him to have these wings with a shield on his arm, you know, and
Right.
and
Right.
and you know, I even had that.
Revamping, throwing away the original, basically throwing away the original guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and what I saw, and I think it was hijacked for this reason because the narrative, if you look at the narrative, the way it was flowing, he was going to realize this shit that I'm already an American. I don't need this shield to prove that. And when you see where the narrative was going, right?
Okay.
And then he was like there was those first three episodes, the three best episodes, and the the fourth is where they really went off the where somebody took it over. But during
You
that
talk about
three
the TV
episodes,
show.
yeah, the TV.
Okay. Okay.
But during that 3 episode arc, Bucky, there's these moments where Bucky was like, a man without a country. He has this guy that he wants to confess to that he killed this guy's son because the kid wandered in while he was assassinating someone, and he'd befriended this man, and there's this moments where he was helping Falcon out, but he was like there's a moment in Madripoor where uh he was asked to be the Winter Soldier again to be because they needed a boogeyman, and he was like in this hive of villains, and even in that hive of villains, the name Winter Soldier meant something.
Sure. Right. Right.
And so he took on that persona, and took on all comers, and it was a glorious thing. But there's this moment where at the end when he wins the battle, he kind of like drops everything on the floor in disgust, because he doesn't want to be that anymore. And so if they had gone the way the narrative was going, and you can tell because in episode 4, everything gets like jarred. It's so jarring how they just, ripped the narrative into their own frame of where they wanted it. And they even set up the villain had just blown up a chateau full of innocent people. And she was
Okay.
really set up as the villain. And then
Okay.
next thing you know, that episode 4, they tried to make her like sympathetic. And because she was,
So,
you know,
well, so there, I noticed there's a pattern with all these show. We'll talk about the TV show. There's a
yeah,
pattern where the first 2 or 3 episodes are kind of really cool.
yeah.
That's how they pull you in, and then the whole hijacking of the story happens.
Well,
Like
see, the
around.
Russos were taken off that project, and Victoria Alonso took them off that project, and put her own writers on it. And so, well, I mean, they weren't officially in the project, but they had written the script for the project. But then she had the rest of it rewritten when she took over, and she is like leftist. She's like Caitlin Kennedy, Kathleen Kennedy leftist. Okay, and and so I believe what happened is she just threw out the rest of it and just rewrote everything, because after that, suddenly Sam is like seeing racism everywhere, and suddenly there's the view of America was just negative. Suddenly, John Walker became this monstrous racist, even though his best friend's black,
Right.
and and it's just like everything just like went to the skewed left all of a sudden, and it was so
Well,
blatant.
so I'm sure that you're accurate about what you're saying. One of
Hmm.
the techniques that I would not be surprised if these guys who originally created the show, they always knew that they would get the boot, and then this is their exit card that they didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Right, right, and because I don't really believe that this is Disney we're talking about, right? I
Yeah.
don't think that they know exactly who the people are that they hire, right? There's like a
Nah.
so they know, and they kind of know that they kind of play these games about who is what and what they
Well,
really think.
well, the thing about it is the Russos had been. This has been like their plan all along. and yet when but yet in midstream it got ripped away from them and basically suborned to their what they wanted to do, which is basically what happened with Marvel now. And I told people, I was like, Marvel Now's coming. They're going to skip all this material and they're going to go straight to Marvel Now. I'm telling you now, they're going to race swap everybody. They're going to gender swap everybody, and all the narratives that they've been
Right.
setting up for years is
Right.
going to be ripped out, and
Totally.
they're going to go with something different, and that's exactly what happened. They went straight to Marvel Now because Huma Aberdeen, who was over not Huma Aberdeen, what is her name? Sama Amanat. She's cousin to Huma Aberdeen. Uh
Okay. Oh, really?
yeah, yeah, she's her first cousin. And
Okay.
so I mean,
It's a
rich
small
elite
circle.
to what's that?
It's a small circle, I guess.
It's a very small circle, goes directly to the Clinton campaign, okay? But Sama Amanat, who's behind all this, got like phased out because she was like sleeping her way through the office pool at Marvel, and then she got called out for it. And rather than
Oh,
fire her, they shuttled her off to the side as a consultant to the MCU, and then suddenly everything went exactly like it did in the comics under her.
right.
And
That's
so,
crazy,
as soon as
man.
I saw that she was going to be a consultant, I was like, Marvel Now. It's going to be Marvel Now.
I'll
And
tell you
son of
what,
a gun.
these people that at the very top that own the people that really own Marvel, like
Yeah.
they so now like 30 years ago, you
Mm-hmm.
would argue with somebody in the store about who's stronger, Superman or the Hulk,
Yeah.
right? But there's really no division between you and that other person. And
Nah.
they've really done an excellent job of pitting us against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so that he's a lefty, and I hate him because he ruined Marvel, and he's still. And then this guy is like, well, it's always been like a bad show for other people besides white people in Marvel, right? That's his logic,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
like, so they pitted us against each other, and it worked.
Yeah.
And it's really sad, like it's almost like you have to say they create these impossible situations
Mm-hmm.
where they're almost like as a comic fan, these are existential questions,
Yeah.
right? We don't want that.
Oh, I didn't
And
know this. This is Doodles 1980. Hi. He says Simon Beasley passed away yesterday.
whoa,
Yeah. He wasn't that old, was he?
I'm not that old. He
No.
was probably our age, maybe,
Hmm.
but
Well,
from what I understand, he was not me. He was like he liked to drink and
right.
do a lot and like um it kind of bled through to his artwork. That's why he had so much energy, right? It was just
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's awful, man.
Let's see. He was
Although
born
there
1956.
there could be extenuating circumstances too. You don't know.
Nah, that's sorry. It's the wrong guy. That's Beasley. I said Bisley. What the heck are you doing here? I don't even
Because
know who that guy is.
for all we know, he had the condition his whole life, or he got the jab, or he just got hit by lightning. Right, right. I mean, it
Well,
could be
a lot of these people are passing away that had to have had to have taken the jab
well.
to have yeah hold on 1 second. Yeah, he was
That's awful.
British, so he definitely would have had to take the jab. It doesn't have his updated yet, but
It's
he
like I had heard something. It was like 75 to 85% of the UK population. I think in
mhm.
Ireland it's like 90%. So, but
Yeah,
it's kind of funny, these people that were rebels, right? He was a rebel, Tom
right.
Bisley, and all of a sudden they just get in line, and you're like, I
Well,
guess you got
like Taylor Hawkins passed away. He was a drummer
Foo
for
Fighters,
the Foo Fighters, and he just dropped dead. And is never like really told what happened to him. He just had a heart attack. And this is a guy who's like full of life. He's a fucking drummer. You know how aerobic, I
right?
mean, drummers never drop dead of heart failure because they're just their whole entire career is aerobics, you know.
Well,
Uh,
Foo
and
Fighters
he
were.
just dropped dead, and nobody wanted to even talk about it. So
Well, I'll tell you something. The Foo Fighters,
hold
people
on
like
one
that.
second. Hold on a second. I'm a so I okay, so I'm a troll. I just trolled you. All right, whatever. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Oh,
He
there you
didn't
go.
die. I was just trolling you. Can I use one of my videos?
Well,
Uh,
you know,
whatever, dude.
heck, if you want me in your
Do
video,
whatever
do
you
it,
want
man.
to. No
I
big
mean,
deal. I didn't
um,
see it anywhere. I was wondering. Marvel for Studios in shambles. Little Kevin is pissed on all of our childhood and blaming us. Kevin Feige, I guess. If you want to
Kevin
know the real
Feige.
truth on how and why this happened, look no further than this. I'm not sure what that YouTube video is, man. Let me go ahead to the mainstream. Go ahead, use it, Noodles, man. If that's what it does
Hey,
to
we're
make
big
you happy, man,
stars.
just go ahead.
If it blows your channel up by having us on there, do
Go
it.
right ahead, dude. I'm not big enough for you to get any impact from it, but that's fine, dude.
Um,
Let's see. Kevin Feige killed Marvel. Adam Post. Okay, well, I
so
try not to give Adam Post clicks if you don't mind.
before the Avengers movie, remember in the first Avengers movie, they came up the Tesseract,
Uh-huh.
which is so. Have you ever heard that term before the Avengers movie?
Yeah. Yeah, Tesseract is all in Marvel Comics. It's also it's an old term that actually predates Marvel Comics. Drummer is only dropped dead from severe. Okay, no idea. You got to complete the thought there,
Well,
Hojo.
John Bonham, right? I mean, you got to drink yourself to death if you're gonna kill
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Keith
Drummers,
Moon,
man, they do not drop dead of heart attacks. They just don't. I mean, every drummer, every major drummer. I mean, freaking the professor Neil Peart basically was eaten
right?
up by cancer, and he was still drumming all the way up to he drew his last breath. I mean,
Right?
drummers are that aerobics that they do constantly is not conducive to having a heart attack. It's just not. He had no history of heart failure in his family. It was like a complete shock to everybody. But then everybody's just like, you know, smoothing it over. Oh, it's
Oh,
just inexplicable. You know, it's inexplicable. It's not inexplicable. The motherfucker had to take the damn vaccine. He had to.
when the Foo Fighters pushed it, and then they said you couldn't have their show unless you were vaxxed.
Yes.
I remember going, "You what a
Yes,
bunch of
they reaped what they
assholes!"
sowed, man. They reaped
You
what they
know,
sowed. All those idiot commie Fornia idiots are like saying you have to get a vaccine to come to our shows, and look at them dropping dead left and right. I mean, they brought this shit on themselves.
well, it makes you wonder too because it's odd to me that a lot of people don't spot that like we do.
Yeah,
Like
drummers only drop dead from copious amounts of alcohol the night before than choking. Yeah, on their own
right,
vomit. Yeah,
right.
it's called asphyxiation. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, And the other thing too about drummers is that they have this, like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
My brain can't do what they're doing.
No.
That's a different, like, a whole different thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
they're always.
it's funny. The guy that what killed Keith Moon wasn't drug use. It was the drug he was using to get off of drugs.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, there's a drug he was using. It's kind of like their Narcan, that to get off of heroin, basically, and the drugs he was using. He got drunk at the pub, went home, took his medication, and sometime during the night he woke up and forgot that he took his medication because of he was drunk, and he took it again and he overdosed.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, out of all the craziness, the guy drove a Rolls Royce into somebody's pool.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
he was a modern day pirate, and what killed him was trying to
I'll tell
change
you
his
something about
ways.
Keith Moon. Him and I have the same birthday.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go drive my car to somebody's pool.
I had an error. It happens. Yeah. I hear you, Hojo. Very rarely for you. Voluntarily. There was funny, but somebody re-listened to Tommy's the Tommy, the Who's rock opera,
Right.
and they said that there were some drumming in that the Who's in Tommy that are impossible for a human without a drum machine. That should be impossible for a human without a drum machine.
Well, back then they did. Didn't they play one and then they recorded on top of it? Right. So
Well,
they could do something like that, right?
well, no, it wasn't sped up at all. If it was sped up, it would have been a distortion there, and there wasn't a distortion there. He played it. He actually played it, and he did it a few times live, and did the same thing. It wasn't every time because it's impossible to play almost. But he was just he didn't have anything in his head that told him that this was not a good idea.
Right. That makes sense, right?
And that included his drumming. I mean, it never occurred to him like, wait a second, I shouldn't put like 38 notes per bar, in this, but it made him a great drummer, but it also, made him also hedonistic and on a level that few rock stars have ever reached.
Well, you know how those people that run up buildings and then they do like the urban scale on the walls and they jump all around. Like right. I would never think that's possible, right?
Well, get this. This is a funny story, okay? Keith Moon, Joe Walsh, and Alice Cooper were like a trio for a while, but Keith Moon was so bad that it caused Alice Cooper and Joe Walsh to both quit alcohol and drugs.
Really?
because they're like he scared them. He was so far in that he scared them enough that it scared them straight.
I believe
both of them went sober after being with him for a while.
There's something with British people that is super hardcore. Like if you get him into this zone, like remember like Keith Moon's one a good example, but like Lemmy from Motorhead.
Oh right? Yeah, Lemmy.
You just know these guys are gonna like Oliver Reed, right? Like you know they're gonna take this thing to the freaking limit. And normal people are gonna.
You know what killed Oliver Reed, right?
Yeah, he was drinking.
Yeah, he drank some sailors under the table, walked out into the street, and collapsed. He was in his 70s, man.
Right. And he'd been doing that his whole life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like they finally caught up to him. You know what? I'm not going to say that's a bad move. I would never do that, obviously. Right. But if he wants to live that way and he wants to burn out instead of fade away, as they say, then, that's his prerogative, I mean, maybe he didn't want to die in an old folks' home.
Right.
Right. Maybe he didn't have somebody do all that stuff to him.
Well, when you look at some of them, I mean, John Bonham, drank himself to death. Of course, everybody knows about that one. But Steve Clark from Led Zeppelin, he was the co-lead guitarist for Led Zeppelin. At one point, he was taken to the hospital, at the same hospital where John Bonham was taken when he passed away. And they said he had a higher blood alcohol level in his system than John Bonham did when he died.
Really?
Yeah, and he still couldn't pull out of it. But I tell you what, when they go hardcore, man, they go hardcore. Hold on 1 second. I'm on a show in the Whack Pack from Howard Stern. Would you guys like to participate? It's called Kermit and Friends. I'm gonna have to say no. I kind of like have to run my own shows because my schedule's so weird. I work third shift. But appreciate. But
you already got us once, so why let him do it again? You never know what he's talking about, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it could be a troll. Who knows? Yeah. Oh, he says, "Oh, I'm serious about the Stern thing." Okay,
I'm sure he is. Howard Stern's a douchebag anyway.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys. All right.
Back to the whole Captain America thing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so I always pay attention when I see a kick-ass idea like that. I kind of wonder if, because they're all shitty ideas now that Marvel produces.
Yeah.
They're always they're derivative or they're just left wing bullshit,
Yeah.
right? Comedy stuff. Um, so you always go, that's pretty sweet, man. It's always nice because I think one of the approaches that Marvel and DC uses, they come up with
Hmm.
1,000 different characters and see which ones stick,
Yeah.
right? Because you don't really know who people are going to be really get into. So if you
Well,
come up with
well, the thing about it is where I thought they were going to go. Uh, is I thought that they were going to like pass the torches on to other people, and I mean, instead of they're going to pass it to Riri Williams, which is the worst character that's ever been in Marvel Comics. I mean, pretty much this total sociopath. But they're gonna,
okay,
and they're gonna pass the Iron Man mantle on to her, and it's gonna totally
oh, is that
fail like it
right?
did in the comics. They were gonna like give Captain Marvel the lead, but then they realized that Brie Larson, when people cheer when she got knocked into orbit by Thanos, I think they're like, okay, well, she's not gonna work out, so she's
I'll tell you
probably not gonna be
something.
part of it
The
going
last time
forward.
I watched Endgame, I remember going, "You just want to punch that face."
Yeah,
I mean,
you
her
do.
face, it looked like she has resting bitch face.
Yep.
Seriously. And they know it, but they're going to shove it in our face anyway.
Well, it's funny when all the women got together and did that charge, and it was like ridiculous, and everybody was groaning, man. I mean, everybody in the theater was groaning. But then when Thanos like punched her into orbit, people cheered, and so it's like this is the way it's going to go from here on out. They're going to push this
Right.
stuff, and people are just going to be like, no, and then they're going to wonder why the MCU died, and they're going to blame everybody but themselves.
Right.
Uh, but
Well,
I saw the writing on the wall with it, because the Iron Man mantle should have gone to War Machine. I mean, it's quite obvious to me it should have gone to War Machine,
I
and then
think
the
inheritance wise, it should, but he doesn't have the savvy that Tony Stark does, right? He doesn't have the
no,
tech
he doesn't have
savvy.
the technology. He's using somebody else, but there were tech people that they could have brought in to do that. I mean, they could have, you know,
Like,
I mean,
yeah,
I would have been okay with them bringing oh what is his name? Rockwell. Sam Rockwell played him.
right. Hammer.
Hammer. I would have been okay with him bringing Justin Hammer out of prison to outfit or to be his armorer. That would have been hilarious, and maybe give him
Sometimes,
a redemption arc because he's such a little weasel. But you know,
sometimes what they do is they'll kill off Tony Stark,
yeah,
and then they'll have 3 movies or 3 comic books or a year or two of the where it's a different character, and
uh,
then Captain America comes back,
yeah,
right? That kind of a thing where you go now everything's rejuvenated
yeah.
and you see the real Cap, right? They did that with Thor, but I don't think anybody took Thor's place.
No, well, Jane Foster.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they replaced her with Jane Foster. That's Marvel now is a shit show, man.
It's always like that. They rope you in and then they smash you down.
Yeah.
Right? Right?
Well, that's what they wanted all along. That's why they destroyed comics, is because they were aiming for the MCU, because that's where the cultural power was, and that's what
Right.
they wanted all along. That cultural power. They
Right.
didn't even give a shit about comics. I mean, they had
Oh, I'm
comics was
sure.
like the hobby. But what happened was when the MCU first started, there was this organization controlling it that were like ex comic writers and ex comic pros, and then and basically Kevin Feige like forced them out and became like he became over it, and then but for a little while there he had some people like looking over his shoulder, but then he got to the point where they gave him all of Marvel Comics, and he's like, okay, well, I need to delegate now. So who should I give this to? And then suddenly,
Really?
Sama Amanat, who was like the assistant editor, is like, oh, how about Victoria Alonso? And so he's like, oh, okay. And so he gives it to Victoria Alonso, who's basically Sama Amanat's BFF. And so essentially he gave it to Sama Amanat like he did the comics. And everything's just going so
And it's funny, it's sad too, because all those generations of artists and writers They
Yeah.
made great stuff, and they did it by working their asses off,
Yeah.
right? By like, and so and people that try to get into the business for all those decades, and
Uh,
and then all of a sudden they just get washed away
yeah.
in one decision where you go, now we're going to go in this other direction that's
Right.
against everything they ever would have done. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, I mean, you watch the professionals sometimes, and when you see that the lineup they have on the professionals, that should be the guys writing are basically making these comics right now, and
right?
instead they were forced out of the industry, and I mean, and you see the kind of stuff that they're still capable of, like Del Keown, yeah, he's kind of finding his way right now. But once he finds his way to his drawing board, nobody's better. I mean,
I'm telling
nobody
you.
is
And
better.
I think early on in Dale's career, I remember he was learning still, as
Yeah,
most people are. But when at some point he went like from here, he just went, he just
yeah,
figured it out. And man, it's a kick-ass style that he has.
yeah,
So cool.
yeah. I've always been held out hope that that Finch was going to find his way into Comicsgate. I mean, he's a cool guy. He's low key. He doesn't talk about his politics, and he has a great drawing show. I've watched multiple times. And
Right.
I've always kind of hoped that he would find his way into Comicsgate, but I think he's still getting work in the mainstream.
Big time.
And let's face it, they only come to Comicsgate when that door's shut, except for Renee Dross, who basically walked away because she hated getting patted on the head. But she's definitely an
Okay.
exception to the rule. And Gabe El Taib or whatever was still getting work when he walked away from it. But
Well, David Finch, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if he has a different, he doesn't get a page rate. He gets a
yeah.
like a whole different deal because basically he can just do covers if he wanted to and sell books.
Yeah, I think that's basically what he's doing. I don't think he's doing sequentials, but the people that have those cover gigs, I mean, they're not likely to move anywhere. I mean, it's a real awesome gig. I mean, let's face it. It's what Del Keown was doing for years. And so I think Del got bored. I think
Oh, you
he's
think
in
so?
Comicsgate because he's bored. Uh
Well, I can tell he's not really a conformist,
no,
right? He
no, he's
doesn't
not.
strike me as he doesn't strike me as a 9 to 5er
No,
either, right?
no.
So he likes his own hours, his own
Yeah.
control. That's a guess of mine, but it's got to be close to the truth.
Well, there's a lot of these guys are friends with each other, been friends with each other for years. Uh, the one that really befuddles me is like the Aaron Lopresti, because
Right?
Aaron Lopresti was like the guy that they brought in. He was a fixer, basically. They brought him in on other people's books to basically uh, take over runs and things like that, and keep
Mm.
up and he was good at that. You saw him on like multiple books, but it was like he would come in and contribute like one story or something, and so he was a good quality guy, but he really wasn't really well known. He jokes all the time about going to comms and people mistaking him for, I can't remember, this other famous Aaron or whatever. But he got,
Okay.
huh?
I said, okay, I get you. I
Yeah,
understand
but
what you're
but
saying.
but he was never recognized at comms and things like that, and so he wasn't a really big name. But then they lost his number for well over a year, and he had a daughter in college and things like that, and bills to pay because he lives in Washington State for some reason. Why anybody lives up there, I have no idea. But
Right.
but he just like decided, okay, well, I'm going to go and make my own comic. So he made his own comic, or he's decided to make his own comic, and then he he's looking around for somebody to help him promote it and get to an audience, and he had friends in CG and got on Ethan's show. Had no intention on being part of CG, just wanted to promote his book, right? and the backlash attack on him was really exaggerated. I mean, I don't think even Ethan himself, I don't think even Ethan himself got attacked like that. And this guy's a good
Wow.
guy. He's low key. He was openly Christian, okay, but when he left, when he just promoted on Ethan's show, didn't even claim Comicsgate.
Right.
They got like
Yeah, they'll go after
blasted.
him.
And
Well,
it's like you thought that like a main one of their main people walked away, and it was really odd. And I was like, why in the
like
world?
he turned on them, you mean?
Yeah,
That type of
and
thing.
it's like if you know, if somebody like really huge like walks away, they would like pull their hair like Dale Keown, but they didn't even go after Dale Keown like they're going after this guy, going after Aaron and Shelley, and it's just really odd.
Well,
Uh,
Dale Kill might actually kill you with a knife, so I wouldn't go after that guy. He's
well,
got an edge to him, right? He's super nice, but then he's like,
well, I'm just wondering though. I mean, what is it about Aaron that just like rubbed him the wrong way that they went after him like that? And the
well,
only thing I can think of is that he's openly Christian.
that doesn't help
No,
because it's almost like there's if you have a couple dots on the list,
yeah,
then you're just prime target number one. When I was last year when I was learning how to color, and I
uh-huh.
colored a bunch of Ethan's Cyber Frog
You've
pages.
only been coloring 1 year.
Yep.
Holy crap, man!
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I just well, I never had done it. I'm a graphic artist, but I never colored comics ever. And then I looked at so I figured so I did some of Ethan's pages, and then
Uh-huh.
one guy contacted me. He's like, "Your stuff looks really good.
Yeah.
Why the heck are you doing stuff Ethan's characters? He's a transphobe and a hater and all this stuff." And I'm like, I'm a nobody, and they're already coming after me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so somebody like Aaron Lepresti, who actually
Right.
is famous in the circles, has a name, like they're gonna go after him big time. If he was if he was an atheist,
Yeah.
uh, leftist, and then maybe they wouldn't go after him as much, right? But
Well, they actually called Ethan a transphobe. Really?
that's what the guy said to me.
He's only
Yeah.
the only trans person he's ever had any problems with Max Visaggio, and does he even count as trans? Honestly,
It's all fantasy life with those people. They can just in their minds project all this stuff onto
yeah,
people.
he's not a transphobe. He's a Visagiophobe.
You know, I know
They're like a protect. I mean, our Tamara Bonvillain was the other one, and I mean,
well,
golly, man,
I told the person to go fuck off, and I said, I don't know anything about Ethan's point of
yeah,
views,
right,
but it's almost like I know the transphobe is a made up name word,
yeah, it is,
okay, and so Islamophobe, homophobe, these are all made up,
yeah, they're all
just
made
to
up, yeah,
so you're like, I'm not buying this, and
no,
I was kind of like a little surprised the people noticed.
yeah,
I'm like, gee, I'm at Target. That must be cool, you know. and it never happened anymore, but I would like it. It's
right,
I don't have any problem
yeah,
talking about my views.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so they're vicious. Left wing people are vicious, and
yeah, they are,
they live in a fantasy world that's been made up for them, right?
yeah,
All these things that they believe, and you're like, you look. It's like people walking around with those masks. I just
uh,
go, that just screams. You should write mind control on the front of it, or I live in fear, right?
yeah,
I went to the store today, and there was a woman walking in to a Meijer, big, huge store,
yeah,
right? And I'm like, what is your problem? You are really. You should just pick up your television and throw it out the window,
yeah,
and you'll live a better life.
yeah. You can always tell they wear the mask. You can tell who
It's
they are now.
it's very sad, and I understand that fear makes people do certain things. But even if you wore the mask like a year ago or 2 years ago, I mean, let's get real. If you believe all this stuff, that's all. It's done.
Right.
Okay. So what's your problem? What's your deal? You know, what are you so afraid of? And they're
Yeah.
almost, and I've seen people online talk about it, like left wing people,
Yeah.
and they're all still pushing this stuff, you know.
Right.
And I'm like, so yeah. But but back to Captain America.
uh,
Um, I don't know. I think that Bucky would have made a good Captain America. That actor, I think he's pretty good. He would be a
yeah.
pretty good one.
Right.
I actually don't think that either of those guys, if you're going to have somebody inherit Steve Rogers' position, I wouldn't choose either one of those people based on like I would find somebody in the Marvel universe who's sort of a mini Cap right now, right? I don't even know if there is somebody like that. But if you found somebody who is doing what Cap is kind of walking in Cap's shoes, but they're like a small version of him, I don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe there's somebody like that. But when Kevin Feige calls me, I'll let him know what I really think. Right.
Yeah, it's not happening, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome in, Mr. Botter. If you're actually human. Anyway, hold on. Noodles is a troll. He's known for terrorizing YouTube. Yeah.
He did a good job. I mean, he knew the right
Except
thing.
You might be Noodles too, so who knows?
What was cool about his thing is that he chose like a really tangent side thing that we would instantly recognize it, and we would go, oh my gosh, you know. And so that was pretty smart.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's obviously good at his job.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much all I got for the day. You got anything to promote right quick? You want to promote?
Well, I'm working on Shadowpunk right now. My book is in demand.
Okay.
I probably got right now half the book inked.
Yeah.
And I'm cranking away. At some point, I'm not gonna ink the whole thing and then start coloring. I might do like 3/4 and then start coloring. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So just because when I go to Kickstarter, I'm going to use those also to promote.
Right.
And I want new stuff to promote. You know.
Okay.
So and I ordered. I did hit a stretch goal, which is 6K.
Yeah.
So I got a magnet of the Shadowpunk magnet.
Yeah.
And I ordered those once and I got them and they were too dark. So I had to redo them and I got new ones and they're coming. So
cool. All right. Keep your eye out for that. This is Shadowpunk on Indiegogo. It'll pop right up. Anyway. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us today, Fluffiest Chat and Trolls, who have evidently found their way to my humble channel. And that's all we've got for the day. And anyway, so y'all have a good afternoon. Bye, everybody.
Tell me what's on your mind.